Hello there, my name is Alec Mladenovic, and today with my partners Chris and Kevin, we will be discussing a tool that you probably don't even know exists, the accelerometer. As a wildlife researcher for my whole life, I've been in love with animals, and it's been my goal to expand human knowledge and understanding of animal behaviors in the wild. Without these tiny machines that we call accelerometers, studying animals in the wildlife would be much harder than it is today. So in our discussion today, we'll be going over what an accelerometer is, how it works, and of course, its usage in the wild. Let's get started. So you may be asking yourself, what is an accelerometer? And that's a great first question. An accelerometer is basically a device that measures static and dynamic acceleration forces. Basically, it measures changes in velocity or speed. So the main structure of an accelerometer consists of its shell, which is kind of what protects it, the measured element, that's the acceleration, and of course the signal output, which is what we're getting as our readings. So products all around you use accelerometers. Think of your car, for example. Something like your car would have an accelerometer in it, so that when it's driving at high speeds, and if it crashes, the accelerometer can pick up a sudden drop in acceleration and deploy the airbags almost instantaneously. If we look at your phone, for example, many apps will take access to the accelerometer inside the phone. By determining how you're holding your phone, it can get the angle at which you're holding your phone, and even it will tell if you drop the phone to help put in some safety measures. It'll detect a sudden free fall. Now that must sound interesting to you, but you might also be wondering how a complex machine could work. Now there are two main ways that an accelerometer could work. The first is called the piezoelectric effect. Now this is the most common way that you'll see in most accelerometers, and it involves the use of tiny crystal-like structures inside the accelerometer that react with acceleration forces, right? They start to vibrate, they make voltage from it. And now depending on how much voltage is gathered from these crystals, we can get our readings from the accelerometer to determine how much acceleration is being created. The other way is with the capacitance sensor. Now the capacitance sensor, capacitance, you can think of that as your storage of electricity. Basically this stores the electricity in between two structures, microstructures, you can't see them with the naked eye, inside the device. And by the acceleration forces increasing and decreasing, the storage of electricity will also decrease and increase along with these forces. Now determining how much electricity is stored in between these structures, we can again get a value that we can use in our everyday products. As I said, like with a car or a phone, pretty much everything you have is going to have an accelerometer in it for different purposes. Now, these forces can also be picked up in analog or digital values. This is just for us to help us as humans understand them better, but you get the rough idea of how these accelerometers are so important in our lives.
In the wilderness, accelerometers can be greatly used to benefit researchers around the world. Scientists can equip accelerometers onto animals of all shapes and sizes to study them without having to constantly monitor them with cameras and without getting a whole crew involved. By taking these readings from the accelerometer, we can determine previously unknown behavioral patterns of animals that we've never even studied before. For example, an animal with no acceleration for a long period of time, we can take that as a sleeping or resting pattern. A sudden burst in speed, we can take that as an animal hunting or maybe running away from a predator. And just constant acceleration, we can take that as some sort of migration. Using these different forms of acceleration, the values that we get from these tiny little accelerometer devices, we can go into previously unknown worlds, tap into unknown knowledge that we would have never known existed without the accelerometer. And plus, due to the decreasing size of the accelerometers, we can equip it onto the animal and they won't even know it's there. So it won't be a burden to the animals. So there's no need to worry about harming the animals in any way, shape, or form. An example of an animal being studied by a group of biologists is the puma. These group of biologists studied the puma for a short period of time and were able to determine with 92% accuracy the resting, hunting, and overall behavioral patterns of the puma. Pretty much knowledge that we would have never known existed unless you sent a whole crew out there to study the animal. And this was only a short data test too. Overall, we can definitely learn quite a bit from these seemingly insignificant machines. Without them, many animal behavioral patterns would still be unknown to mankind.
We've learned quite a bit about accelerometers in today's discussion, but unfortunately our time here has come to an end. Before we end, let's recap really quickly. So far in today's discussion, we've learned that an accelerometer is a device used to measure changes in speed or velocity to help in our daily lives. We've also learned that it works using the piezoelectric effects or the capacitance sensor. And finally, we've learned that it's used in the wild to find out how animals behave in their daily lives, their motion, and so forth. And that about wraps up our discussion for today. We have great opportunities ahead of us as a generation, and with your help, we will meet and continue to accelerate our knowledge to its infinite potential. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.